Right, so if you are a frequent viewer of this channel, you might notice some things have changed around here, and I would love to say that my money has increased massively and I have bought a place that looks like this, but that is not true. I'm currently in a hotel, and that's because a few days ago, Emily and I travelled to the other side of the world, to Singapore, which is where we currently are right now. You may have noticed that my last few videos were like pre-recorded on like the same days, and that's the reason. I was traveling and then also want like a few days off once we got here. But yeah, either way, we are now officially back up to date. So as I record, a video is probably going to go out within the same day or day after type of thing. You know what I mean? And the very last thing I do want to say before we actually properly get into this video is that if you can hear some noise in the background, it's because I have the AC on and I need the AC on. It is very hot in Singapore, and if I didn't have it on, I would be sweating my tits off, and no one wants to see that. So yeah, I'm going to try my best to remove that noise in editing, but just in case you can hear it, that's why. But yeah, let's actually get into today's topic. And in fact, this is actually an update on a situation we spoke about like 3 years ago at this point. And in fact, this is definitely the most requested video that I've had in some time, because it's involving the TikTok sidekick, or Ashley Gillard, or Lord Ashley G, as her TikTok username says. Now, if you're completely unaware of this situation, I am going to give a bit of a fast recap. It's going to miss out some key details because this is a recap and I want to get into like the newest update, which is a big update. But yeah, just a quick recap to kind of remind you or let you know where we are at this point. So Ashley Gillard is a TikToker who basically became known as the TikTok sidekick. And what Ashley would do is post videos claiming that she could use tarot cards to find out who has committed crimes. And one case in particular that Ashley decided to talk about and has resulted in this whole situation that has only just recently reached a bit of a conclusion, actually a big conclusion, is actually a case that I'm sure most people have heard about, and it's the Idaho University students who were unfortunately murdered a few years ago. An absolutely heartbreaking situation. Like, it's impossible to even put into words how horrible of a situation this is. And Ashley decided to go on to upload a load of videos, like over 100 videos, talking about the fact that she knew who committed these crimes. Now, the problem being here is that it wasn't based on evidence, it was based on the fact that she was this like TikTok sidekick who could use tarot cards, and the tarot cards told her who committed these crimes. And as you can imagine, based on that, she was very wrong. She ended up accusing someone called Rebecca Schofield, who was a professor at the university. And again, this was based on no evidence, but for some reason, Ashley Gillard seemed like she was adamant. She would post things like this on TikTok, like Rebecca Schofield fantasized about Kaylee. She then acted on her desire and pursued Kaylee romantically. The romance abruptly ended. Rebecca suspected that Kaylee was dating someone. She was afraid she'd be exposed for dating a student. This is all information that she claimed she found out through tarot cards. People, of course, would comment on these videos saying, like, do you have any evidence? And Ashley Gillard seemed to take, like, great offense to that and say, like, why would I need evidence?
Rebecca Schofield ordered, planned, initiated, and executed the murder of the 4 University of Idaho students. Although she did not do it with her own hands, like I said,
she didn't do it at all.
She hired, with a promise to pay in different ways, Jack DeCour,
who's also innocent.
People have been asking me for evidence, and I think that is the most ridiculous thing that I've heard.
Yeah, so you can actually hear me talking a bit over the video because I've had to take this from my previous video on this situation. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, Ashley Gillard is adamant that she is correct in this situation and thinks that anyone who is wanting to see any evidence is ridiculous. Ashley will then go on further to post videos like this one, saying Rebecca Schofield is going to prison for the murder of the 4 University of Idaho students, whether you like it or not. Obviously, at this point, Rebecca Schofield decides that she's going to sue Ashley, as you would in this situation. I mean, someone on TikTok posting 100 videos, claiming that you committed the worst possible crime with 0 evidence. Of course, it was going to end up in a lawsuit, and Ashley seemed very confident about this.
I think this is how y'all want me to feel about a measly ass $75,000 lawsuit that I'm gonna win. Oh my God. Killer Rebecca is suing me.
Yeah, ironically, we do hear say things like a measly $75,000 lawsuit that she's going to win. As we'll see later, both of them things turn out to be untrue. It wasn't 75k, it was a lot more, and Ashley didn't win, as you can imagine. Now, at the point of these first videos, no one had actually been arrested, right? So we didn't actually know who was guilty of these crimes. All we knew is that Ashley was accusing someone with no evidence. Now, eventually, as you may know, someone did end up getting arrested and charged, and is currently in prison for the rest of their life. Now, you would assume after there being an arrest, Ashley might think to herself, okay, maybe I got this wrong. And in fact, she kind of went the opposite way, because not only did Ashley continue to claim that Rebecca was guilty, she actually went on to defend the person who had now been arrested for these crimes, Brian Kohlberger.
It's completely disgusting and a new low to me for them to blame Brian Kohlberger, one, because he's different.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say they didn't blame Brian because he's different. They arrested him based on evidence. It's crazy how that works. And I mean, look at the text on this video, by the way. It says, Kohlberger isn't guilty of murder. He's being falsely accused and framed. So at this point, the situation's just getting even worse, right? Because not only is Ashley falsely accusing someone of murder, she's also defending the person who is guilty of murder. So yeah, that's kind of like a brief recap of the type of videos that Ashley was uploading at this point. Again, there was over 100 videos. Now, I, like a bunch of other YouTubers, made videos talking about this situation because, I mean, as you can see, it's wild. I still actually can't believe this even happened. Now, of course, since making those videos, Ashley has been involved in a lawsuit. She's being sued by Rebecca Schofield. Obviously, right? That's how it was always going to go. But that hasn't stopped Ashley publicly speaking about this situation. In fact, within the past 24 hours, Ashley has posted like 15 more videos talking about the situation, which we'll take a look at in a bit. But before we get to Ashley's newest videos, let's actually talk about this lawsuit. So as we can see on this article by IdahoStatesman.com, it says Tarot TikToker must pay $10 million to professor she accused in Moscow murders, jury says. So yeah, when we heard Ashley talk about this measly $75,000 lawsuit, as you can see, it's a bit more than that. $10 million. Now, I am going to take a look through this article and go through some of the information that we have here, but I do also want to mention that a YouTuber called Atozi actually went to the court hearing for 3 days, I believe, and made like multiple live streams talking about it as he was literally there. Now, I don't want to take away from Atozi's videos and just kind of take points from those videos, so I would recommend checking them out if you do want to get like way more information than what I'm going to mention here. One thing that I did find interesting is that he actually mentioned that I was personally mentioned at court. He didn't really go into too much detail as to why. I believe from what I could tell, it was like Ashley talking about the fact that she has faced like backlash because of this situation, I guess, and she mentioned some YouTubers like myself and Atozi and Mad Katzer. And in fact, that isn't the first time that Ashley has mentioned YouTubers like myself. She actually made a video a couple of years ago saying that she was going to be suing me.
If I can get some of these other things cleared out, I am suing everybody who defamed me on this platform, YouTube specifically. Not suing YouTube, but the people on YouTube who, it was like MARKIE, Atozi. They aren't Americans, but I'm sure there's a way for them to be sued for what they've done. Everybody who defamed me is getting sued. Or they're gonna get letters from my attorney, and I will get an attorney for that, because after this, I'm taking a break.
And in fact, ironically, in this video, Ashley says the reason why she is going to be suing me and Atozi is because you can't go online and spread misinformation.
Whenever I get an attorney, we're gonna have to have a conversation on how I'm gonna handle these people who also defame me on YouTube. Because just because you hear something and that doesn't mean it's true. So you don't get to just get on the platform and spread misinformation because somebody else told you. You're held liable for your actions. You're held liable for the things that you say.
And yeah, obviously it goes without saying that is incredibly ironic. But yeah, either way, let's actually take a look at this article and go through some of the key points here. So one thing straight away, which is a crazy bit of information, is that Ashley Gillard actually represented herself in court for this. I mean, as we can read here, it says Gillard, who made her first visit to Idaho and represented herself at trial, believes herself to have psychic abilities and testified that she read tarot cards to try to help solve the shocking homicides that upended the rural college town and generated international attention. It then goes on further to talk about how like Ashley Gillard posted a bunch of videos accusing Rebecca Schofield. But yeah, with a lawsuit that is clearly incredibly large, I did not think that Ashley Gillard was actually going to represent herself in court. I do remember her actually mentioning that she was going to do this. I didn't think that was actually going to happen. I thought that someone is surely going to advise her that that is a terrible decision, but I guess apparently not. Well, people probably did mention it, but maybe, I mean, clearly Ashley thought it was going to go a different way. The 7-member jury, composed of 4 women and 3 men, ruled unanimously for the dollar figure directed to Schofield. The bulk of the sum, $7.5 million, is for punitive damages, which are intended to punish the defendant and deter her and others from similar behaviour in the future. The remainder of the damages were compensatory, meaning they covered actual losses, including economic costs such as medical bills and non-economic costs such as mental and emotional pain and suffering. Now, looking further in this article, it does go on to mention that Ashley Gillard ended up taking to the stand to represent herself, goes on to mention some of the things that she actually spoke about. For example, it says, on the last day of the trial, Friday, Gillard presented her defense and called just one witness, herself. The unique situation played out similarly earlier in the trial when Schofield's lead attorney, Wendy Olson, a former US attorney for Idaho, presented the plaintiff's case and called Gillard to the stand. Gillard then cross-examined herself in a question and answer format before jurors. It then also mentions that Gillard said she watched YouTube videos to train herself to read tarot cards, she practiced on herself and by watching reality TV shows to predict their outcomes, she said. And here's the thing, as I've mentioned throughout this whole situation, using tarot cards isn't the problem here, right? It's the fact that she actually used tarot cards to make an incredibly serious claim, which is obviously disgusting on so many levels. It's disgusting to do that to Rebecca. It's disgusting to do that to the students and defend the person who actually did it. Like, the whole situation was disgusting. It's not the fact that Ashley Gillard likes to use tarot cards. It's the fact that she used tarot cards to make such disgusting claims. And yeah, as we saw with Ashley's previous videos, she wasn't even like making these videos in a way of being like, oh, you know what? It could be this, it could be this. Like, she was making it seem as if she was like 1,000,000% confident. Now, the article goes on further to say that Gillard told jurors she tried to gain access to case information but was denied by law enforcement and court officials. Also noted that Gillard's attempt to gain more information, including a records request to Moscow police and a motion for access to documents in the Koberger case, weren't submitted until 2025, nearly 3 years after she accused Schofield and after Koberg had already been arrested and in one case admitted guilt. Yeah, so as we're actually going to see with Ashley's newest videos, she is saying that the only reason she really lost this case is because the court and Facebook specifically, she mentions, wouldn't give her the evidence. So the fact that she couldn't get evidence from like social media platforms and the university is the reason she lost, and it's not due to the fact that she made ridiculously serious claims with no evidence. In stark contrast, Gillard's closing denied any impact on Schofield. The Texas woman said she was serving the public by using her videos to get justice for the victims of the murders, and claimed her accusations against Schofield were justified. It is reasonable in my shoes that I believe Schofield to be part of these murders, Gillard said. It is reasonable for a person to want to warn the public if they think there is a killer on the loose and is still part of the community. Any suggestion that her life was interrupted was her own choice. So yeah, I think it's clear to see that Ashley still doesn't think she did anything wrong, which is incredibly worrying. I mean, the fact that she says that she was using her videos to get justice for the victims of the murders, whilst at the same time literally defending the person who has been arrested and sentenced to 4 life sentences because of this, like, it doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense. Now, like I mentioned, since this, Ashley has uploaded a lot of videos, specifically about 27, 28 videos. She's uploaded like a series that is up to part 26, but then there's also like a couple of videos that just aren't numbered as on top of that. So yeah, it's about 28 videos in the last couple of days. Now, I'm not going to go through every little thing that's mentioned in these videos. A lot of it is kind of repeated, and a lot of it also doesn't really have to do with like the case itself. But I am going to go through some of the key points and we can see what Ashley's response to this outcome is. So yeah, going through these videos, it becomes very clear that Ashley thinks that she didn't get a fair trial, and it was supposed to be impartial, but it just wasn't.
People are coming to my page to see my response or to get information regarding how I feel about the $10 million verdict that was awarded to Rebecca Schofield. First, my thoughts are it's just slightly irritating because I was ready for this to be over. I wanted to receive a verdict that was fair and impartial and based on the evidence. And unfortunately, that did not happen. And because the jury could not be fair and impartial and base their decision on the evidence, we have to keep going.
Yeah, so when Ashley says that they need to keep going, I'm assuming she's talking about like an appeal at this point. She does mention like in another video that she doesn't know she is going to appeal it because she doesn't trust like the legal system. But either way, she says that it wasn't a fair trial. I'm not really sure how she thought this was going to go. It seemed like clear to everybody how this was going to go. But yeah, it does seem like, and I do believe that Ashley genuinely believed that she was going to win this case and that she wasn't going to face any repercussions. I mean, that's kind of what she said throughout her videos, right? A measly lawsuit that she's going to win, but to everybody else, it just seemed like that was never going to happen. Now, this is where we start to hear about a juror that Ashley mentions in a lot of these videos, so I'm not going to play every single one because a lot of it is just repeated. But basically, she says that one of the members of the jury was biased due to their working relationship.
So my first question is about juror number 5, who works as an attorney for a firm that works with Stowe Reeves, which is the firm representing Schofield. He also had cases in the past where he worked directly with Schofield's attorney. So how did they get him on the list of jurors, or how did he get on this list? First of all, and second of all, he should have been excused for cause because Obviously, he's going to be biased if he is a partner with Schofield's attorneys in many other cases, and currently his firm is partnering with Schofield's attorneys in other cases as well. So it's partners, essentially.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, this is something that Ashley mentions a lot throughout this like series of videos, and she claims that there was some bias here because of people already knowing each other, or like a working relationship. And yeah, to be fair, that's obviously not supposed to happen when it comes to a jury, right? They're supposed to have basically no connections to a case. Now, obviously, I do need to say here, I don't even know if this is true, right? Because we're hearing this from Ashley Gillard, and obviously Ashley has said some things that are very untrue previously, right? But if this is true, maybe Ashley's going to try and use this information to, like, a retrial, I guess? Is that what she's going for here? I just think this is one of them cases where this could go to trial, like, 1,000,000 times, and 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000, you would get the same result, because it's just so obvious. Now, another thing that Ashley mentions throughout these videos is that there were no damages. So, obviously, in a lawsuit, you have to prove damages. And Ashley says there was none because Rebecca had a bunch of support.
Okay, she had no damages. Again, she was promoted at work, so she can't say that she lost money or opportunities at work. So that turned out to be a lie. In the docket, she said she lost opportunity at work. When she filed the case, she said she lost promotions and opportunities at work. But it had only been 20 days since I made the statements when she claimed to have lost promotions and opportunities at work.
Yeah, I mean, Ashley uploaded over 100 videos for millions of people to see, accusing someone of murder with just no evidence. Like, are you surprised that there's damages there? Are you surprised that that would affect someone's career? Now, as we're hearing, apparently Rebecca actually ended up getting a promotion at some point, which, I mean, good, it's the least she deserves. But I'm very confused how that would prove that there was no damages before that. And also, can you imagine, like, being Rebecca in that situation, knowing that there are, like, millions of people that have seen videos accusing you of murder? Like, you would be scared to leave the house, right? Anytime someone looks at you, you'd be thinking to yourself, like, oh shit, have they seen this video of someone accusing me of these, like, disgusting crimes that everyone is aware of? Like, going through his videos, it seems like Ashley believes that Rebecca was just, like, smooth sailing the whole way through the situation and kind of just brushed it off straight away and just thought to sue for, like, the sake of it, you know, something fun to do. In another video, Ashley then talks about, like, a mental health professional who spoke at trial and apparently said that Ashley unalived Rebecca, and Ashley's took that very literally and starts talking about how that's clearly not true because Rebecca is here. And I feel like she might have took some things out of context here.
Mental health damages. So her mental health professional was so senile. She testified in court that I unalived, physically unalived, and she said, you know, we use the right word in court, Rebecca Schofield. And I'm like, she's right there. She's not unalived. She's right there. She was so senile and she could not admit her own wrongdoings that she would say ridiculous statements like that.
Okay, so yeah, a couple of things. I think she's took that out of context. I highly doubt that the mental health professional, as Ashley says, was saying that in a literal sense. But also, like, the irony, right? She's calling someone senile for accusing her of murder that didn't happen. The irony. Now, in another video, Ashley goes on to talk about the possibility of appealing and kind of says that she doesn't really trust the legal system, so doesn't know if she's going to be doing that. And also goes on to talk about, like, the punitive damages and the laws behind that and how she's not actually going to be sued for a total of $10 million. It's going to be less than that, but she still believes it's too much.
Like, the trust in the legal system for me has gone substantially down due to my experience, not just with this case, but others. But also, the maximum for punitive damages in Idaho is $250,000. So that will reduce the verdict to about $2.75 million or something like that. Even so, then that's too much because she wasn't actually damaged and I did not act with an intent to harm or maliciously. I was just trying to help.
Yeah, I feel weird even, like, making a comment about this and, like, making a rebuttal against what Ashley is saying. Like the fact she's saying that there was no damages and that she was just trying to be nice, you know? She wasn't trying to, like, be malicious while she literally accuses someone of murder in over 100 videos. Like, how the fuck is that not malicious when there is no evidence? But yeah, like I said, it feels stupid to even try and give, like, a rebuttal against these videos because it feels incredibly obvious, and it is to 99% of people. But yeah, we obviously have to talk about what Ashley has said here. Now, as we get towards the end of the series of videos that Ashley has uploaded, it does seem like she's going to be trying to call out the legal system, and specifically talking about this whole, like, jury situation, how juror number 5, as she mentions, was actually biased because of a working relationship. And she says because she has mentioned this online, they are actually now trying to silence her.
$10 million verdict, part 22. They're working very hard to silence me. They sent an email to the judge and the judge's assistant, basically trying to request for them to silence me. To silence me about juror number 5, who displayed evidence of bias against me. And to silence me in general. They don't want me talking about what happened in this court case. But I'm not gonna be silent, not anymore. I'm not gonna be silent about my rights being violated. I'm not gonna be silent about a jury full of bias and a $10 million verdict when the plaintiff had no damages.
And in fact, in the final part of the series of videos that Ashley uploaded, she mentions how Rebecca had like so much support on her side, but they still had to cheat against her.
She had her job to support her. She had the case in Idaho of her peers, of state of her peers, not my peers. I didn't have witnesses. I didn't have lawyers. I didn't have money given to me. I didn't have a state. It wasn't even in my state. I didn't have a jury of my peers. Why did they also have to cheat? That's why I'm ranting about juror number 5. Because why did they also have to have someone that they knew on the jury when they had everything else?
So yeah, as we can see, it seems like Ashley's going to continue uploading videos about this whole situation, and is probably going to try and take some further steps. I don't know what that entails. She's obviously mentioning about like reporting this information to whoever and see how that will go. But overall, what we do know at this point is that Ashley has been sued. And it looks like unless she appeals it, we have actually reached a conclusion. The conclusion and the verdict being that Ashley Gillard must pay $10 million to Professor Rebecca Schofield. But with that all being said, I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below on this whole situation. Did this play out the way that you thought it would? Did you think it was going to be maybe more money, less money? Is there anyone who thought that this case was actually going to play out in Ashley's favour? I don't think I've seen anyone mention that before, but maybe there's people out there. And yeah, just let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like I mentioned, me and Emily are still going to be here for about a week at this point, so the next few videos are going to be in this location, different like mic setup that probably isn't as good. I'm recording my phone, which to be honest, doesn't even look bad, I don't think. It actually looks quite good nowadays. Phone cameras are decent, so it is just a bit of a like a B-Tech setup for a little while. I do apologise, but you know what? In like a week's time, we'll be back to normality. And yeah, without further ado, I will see you guys in the next one. Okay? Goodbye.